What's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of the Variety Views. And this is a new series called Top 10 Tuesdays. And since it's Tuesday, I'm going to go with a top 10 list. And I did talk about this before during my prediction video, where, hey, maybe a match or two are going to be a part of the, are going to be in my top 10 list of favorite Hell in a Cell matches. So let's get right to it. A few honorable mentions that I thought were, some of the Hell in a Cell matches that I thought were good, but were eked out of the top 10 is Randy Orton versus John Cena from Hell in a Cell 2009. I thought that was a great match, but at the same time, the fact that it then led on to their Iron Man match, which was like a even more spectacular match, and it wasn't as good as their I Quit match that they had a month prior. This kind of felt, a little. It wasn't the best match of their series, but it was still a great match, and I like the fact there was a lot of things that were implemented here that were in their other matches. So it was a good match. It was a very good match, but it really got eked out by an amazing top 10. Another match is Legacy versus DX. That was a great match. I like the idea of Triple H being beaten up, and then he kind of got locked out, and Shawn Michaels was getting destroyed by Legacy until at the end, Triple H finally got his way in by using a bolt cutters, by using the bolt cutters and getting in there, and them getting their revenge on Legacy, and that was a feud ender, and was a spectacular match. Another match is DX versus the McMahons and Big Show from Unforgiven '06. Another great match, and a feud ender as well. A really brutal match, especially the ending. With Shane McMahon getting his throat crushed by an elbow drop from Shawn. That was a fucking brutal spot. But at the same time, despite it being a great match, it was somewhere in the middle of the show, and it was overshadowed by the main event, which was a much better match and much more brutal in a TLC match between Edge and Cena. And also, I think that despite the fact that it was a brutal match, it kind of was one-sided. Yes, the McMahons and Big Show were the aggressors at the start of the match, but DX, they destroyed the McMahons and Big Show at the end. And at the same time, there wasn't enough psychology to the match. And Vince he's had good matches, but he was never a really good wrestler. And I think if you've taken him away out of the match, and you wouldn't have lost anything, except for the ending where he got his back broken by a sledgehammer, and whenever Triple H did that, it was always brutal. So okay, now we get to the top 10 list, all right? Number 10, go with Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt, Hell in a Cell 2015. A great match, a great feud ender. Amazing back and forth action, and I would say it was the last great Bray Wyatt match, like an awesome match, and I would also say it was one of the better Roman matches, although he did have better matches later on, and he had matches before then, but still I feel like this was the match that he finally broke away from being like, is he going to be the guy? Is he not going to be the guy? This is when he broke through and became, like, holy shit, this guy is finally there. He's finally a main eventer. Although he did have a great match with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, I still feel like this was the big win in a big match, in a big feud that Roman needed to get to that next big level. So, I put this in the number 10. Number 9, Triple H versus Undertaker, WrestleMania 28. Great match. The only reason that I wouldn't put it higher on the list is the fact that the cell wasn't used as much, but there was a lot of drama, a lot of stakes were going on in this match. The streak, Triple H being, this was like the pretty much an end of an era of like and it truly was. It felt like there was a changing of the guard after WrestleMania 28, going from you know Triple H and Undertaker and Shawn being on top, and pretty much handing the reins over to the next generation. It really felt so, like especially after that you had like Punk and Jericho and Cena and Rock, them pretty much them going forward. Although I would take Rock and Jericho out of the equation. I would say like Punk and Cena being like the next stage. So yeah, the Triple H and Undertaker had a great fucking match, and I still mark out in that moment where Michaels super kicks Undertaker and Triple H hits him with the pedigree, and then you get that close 2 count. Number 8 is a recent match, and it's the Usos versus the New Day. Great fucking match from start to finish. Was so invested into this match. You started off with a little bit of comedy, but then when shit got real, it got absolutely real. There were innovative spots, a lot of innovative moves, and it was great because they actually used the cell to their advantage. And I think because of the cell, a lot of the moves were a lot safer, but it doesn't take away from the fact that there were some high risk moves. You're still, you could risk an injury just by running, and they did do a lot of innovative stuff here. And this was a breakout performance for each and every one of these guys into being more so than a tag team. So yeah, great match. Number 7 goes to Cactus Jack versus Triple H at No Way Out 2000. Awesome. This was like a lot of people would go back to seeing Triple H and Cactus Jack at Royal Rumble 2000 and saying that match was the match that had Triple H break out. I would say so, yes, but at the same time, this match also elevated Triple H to that next level of him being like this sadistic guy that would go at any lengths to take away, to defeat his opponent, no matter what it is. And it was proven here. There were a lot of crazy spots here. Not the craziest spot Foley ever did, but at the same time, it was still devastating. Him breaking through the ring, yes, it was safer, but it still looked much more devastating than some of his other moments. And yeah, Triple H beating Cactus Jack, and that whole moment of like even Jim. One of the things that added to the match is the commentary of Jim Ross saying like Triple H is a hideous human being, and him saying like Cactus Jack, come on, kick out at the end, and just being engrossed into this match. It was great, absolutely awesome, and there were brutal moments. There was a lot of blood. There's fire, barbed wire, everything that you would ever need in a feud ender. And this was it. This was a feud ender as well. Number 6 goes to Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar, No Mercy 2002. This was the match that made Lesnar into being a fucking top guy. He beat Hogan, he won King of the Ring, he beat Rock for the title, but he never took Brock Lesnar as being the top guy. This was the match that made him into being, okay, Lesnar has finally arrived. And it just catapulted him into becoming the main event star that he now is. A lot of blood, especially from Undertaker. He was like the proverbial crimson mask, just like leaking buckets of blood from his forehead. Just crazy stuff. And the storyline going into this with Undertaker having a broken arm and wearing a cast throughout the match. It's like this was, and it was used to his potential. It was like used to its full potential with him using it as a weapon and beating the shit out of Brock Lesnar. And even Paul Heyman got busted open, even though that he was outside of the ring. It was great stuff. I loved it. I loved every single second of it. Number 5 goes to Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens in this past Hell in a Cell 2017. Awesome match. Loved it. Every second of it mattered. Like, there was no dull moment, and there was no moment that was wasted. Shane McMahon tried to beat the shit out of Kevin Owens as much as he can. Owens tried to run away. It's like even locking himself in. It's like, screw you. There was a moment he's going up top of the cell, and he wanted to jump off on Shane, and he was like, oh, fuck. It's just like he's backing out, which made so much sense. And even Corey Graves is like, Kevin Owens is smart. He knows what he's doing. And Shane would not hesitate in delivering a big spot. Like, there was like the shooting star press in the ring, him doing the coast to coast, everything that you would want out of a Shane McMahon match, but at the same time, they were done spaced out. Like, there were moments in between. Like, this went on for like half an hour, but it was like every second was needed for this match. Like, I wouldn't have taken anything out of this match. I wouldn't have taken any minutes out of this match or added. This was perfectly timed. And Shane hitting the elbow on the top was trying to go for the elbow, and then Kevin Owens going out of the way, and the big swerve at the end was Sami Zayn helping out Kevin Owens, his long-term rival, his former best friend, and he helps Kevin Owens out. Awesome moment, added to the match, added to the drama, added to the stakes. And this was leading up to it. Like, there were backstage segments with Zayn and Shane, and Zayn and Owens and Shane. Like, there was a lot of story going into this, to the point where everything was just so perfectly done. Number 4 goes to the Armageddon Hell in a Cell. You had Rikishi, Undertaker, Triple H, Kurt Angle, Stone Cold, and The Rock. The 6 top guys in your company at that time, and you put them in there in the Hell in a Cell. Awesome match. They went everywhere. They went to the outside, near the entrance ramp, went to the top of the cell. All 6 men were on top. And you had a crazy moment with Rikishi getting thrown off the cell and onto a truck. This was like one of the highlights of like the intros for months and even years to come. And even when you would look back to through Undertaker tributes, that was like one of them. And even Undertaker, that was the first time where you saw like the Undertaker sticking his tongue out and bleeding, and just a crazy moment. You had also Rock and Austin having a moment there. This would play out to them having like a moment at Royal Rumble and then at WrestleMania. Amazing booking. Kurt Angle eking out a win. Big win for him to have. Him going over the other 5 top guys was just great. An awesome match. And I would recommend it to everybody. And even like if you're not a wrestling fan, I think this is a match that can be shown to somebody who's like into action movies and stuff like that, because I do feel like this even transcends the realm of wrestling. Number 3 goes to Triple H and Batista, Vengeance 2005. This is a very underrated match, mainly because the feud when it started was great. It was such a slow burn that started from all the way to middle of 2004 and leaded to WrestleMania 21, which they had a good main event, but not a great main event. I wouldn't say it was WrestleMania worthy, but only because of the ending. I think that that's exactly what was needed. And they had a better match at Backlash the following month, but then they had this feud ender, Vengeance 2005, which was such a great match, awesome match, one of the best matches of that year. And it was so brutal. Like I still remember Triple H going for the barbed wire, the steel chair wrapped in barbed wire, hitting Batista multiple times with it. It looked brutal as fuck. You know, Batista bleeding out of his back, out of his shoulder, out of his, you know, he had a cut on his forehead, and Triple H bleeding out buckets. It's like, you know, that's classic Triple H at the time, when it's like when he's bleeding, that's when you know, you know, that's when you know a match is you know, really good. And he really busted his ass out just to put over Batista, and Batista looked like $1,000,000. And coming out of this, Batista looked like the biggest star ever, you know. And the ending was awesome with Batista going for the Batista bomb. Triple H grabbing the sledgehammer, about to hit Batista with it, but Batista throws him down, and just, you know, with magnificent force, and, you know, gets the 1, 2, 3, and Batista's still your world champion. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Number 2 goes to Undertaker versus Mankind, King of the Ring 98. Amazing match, from start to finish. Awesome stuff. Awesome moments. That stuff that you haven't, you know, that the fans there haven't seen before. They've seen it in ECW a little bit, but with the WWE, it just, like, it stood out so much, to the point where I'm like, fuck, this is match of the year, because of that year. Because, dude, like, the crowd was so into it, and it was, you talk about double turns. This was the start of a great double turn. Mankind coming out of this was, like, so beloved, that when he turned babyface afterwards, everybody was, like, so into him. And this was, like, the start of Undertaker slowly turning heel, and slowly, you know, becoming one of the top bad guys in wrestling. And it's just, you saw this match, it's like, what the fuck, Undertaker is such a, you know, sadistic human being. And him chokeslamming Terry Funk, and there's a story there. A lot of people don't talk about this. Terry Funk getting chokeslammed made so much sense, because months prior, Terry Funk was had a match with Dude Love, who's another Mick Foley persona. And, you know, Vince McMahon told him, like, you know, I want you to eviscerate your best friend, just to show me that you deserve to be WWE champion. And, you know, they had a great, you know, match, a great no DQ match, where Foley absolutely destroyed Terry Funk. But even after all of that, Funk still came back with Foley, and he's like, you know what? We've had our differences before. We've had much crazier matches in Japan, so that's the reason why I would let bygones be bygones. And him coming out there and still being on his best friend's side. And Undertaker is just like, he doesn't care about anybody. He doesn't care about medical personnel. He doesn't care if he killed the guy. He's going to stop at nothing to destroy his rival. And this was one of the first times that you got to see the sadistic side of the Undertaker. Yes, you got to see him in 96 a little bit, but it was always with Mankind. Whenever he would face Mankind, that's when you get the best out of the Undertaker. When he's wrestling anybody else, yes, you would get good matches here and there. You would have 5-star matches like Shawn Michaels, but when he's with Mankind, it's a completely different Undertaker, you know. So now we get to number 1. Number 1 goes to The Undertaker versus Edge, SummerSlam 2008. Now, you might say, like, okay, you're putting this number 1, it's completely wrong. But to me, it's one of the best feud enders ever. Okay? To me, that was match of the year. I would take this over Flair Michaels. I would take this over any other match of that year. Whether it's TNA, Ring of Honor, whatever. This was match of the year. Because everything leading up to it, dude, like, there's the steel chair where Edge, you know, goes up top of the ladder and goes through the Undertaker, you know, through the table with a steel chair with an elbow drop. It was, you know, in the Go Home show, he did it to Foley and was like, I understand. There's the camera Edge used it, and Undertaker used it as well. And Undertaker doing everything that Edge did to him, throughout the feud. He hit him with the camera. Goes back to Survivor Series, the previous year, where Edge interfered in the Undertaker Batista match, and he helped Batista win. He hit him with a spear, which goes back to when Edge cashed in on the Undertaker. And finally, he hits him with the tombstone. Actually, before that, he does the concerto on Edge, which is something that Edge did, which I believe was leading up to their one night stand match, which banished the Undertaker from SmackDown. All of that, and then some. Okay, he beat Edge, beat him 1, 2, 3, and afterwards put him on top of the ladder, and he's like, "Now it's time for you to go to hell." Choke slams him from top of the ladder through the ring, and then he summons flames from which basically he pretty much chokeslammed Edge to hell. Like, it was awesome, an awesome sight to behold, of Undertaker kneeling, and then him raising fire from the pits of the ring, and Edge being engulfed in flame basically. And it was so wrestling. It was exactly what I love in wrestling. It's drama, it's craziness, it's crazy spots and moments, crazy moments that you would remember for years and years and years. And that was my top 10 list of best Hell in a Cell matches. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I have, and stay tuned where I'll be talking about something else, and next week I'll have another list. Stay tuned to then. Until then, rate, comment, favorite, help, please subscribe, and check out my next video. I'll be talking about something else.